So you and Brian been talking about this this whole data science team model thing.
The apprenticeship.
Yeah, the apprenticeship.
Program,
right?
Yeah.
And I've heard bits and pieces of it from you and from Daniel. What exactly is the model, and why are we like kind of spinning this up?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the first thing I'll say is why, and it really came out of Brian Behe, who's a senior data scientist at Red Alpha, and we kind of realized that it's a bit of a cliche, but there's so much that we wish we knew then, that we know now, and it's not like these big magic secrets. It's really just a series of a bunch of little things, how you respond in different situations that we kind of more or less had to learn on our own. And if someone had just kind of walked us through a few examples early on, I think we'd have been a lot better off, and some of it's from mistakes we've made, mistakes we've seen other people make, but the bottom line is we want to make sure this next generation of Red Alpha data scientists, from the beginning has the professional foundation, I'll say, to go with their technical foundation. And professional foundation is just, how do you deal with clients? Like, what do you do when a client gets really angry at you about something that honestly wasn't really your fault, and you're being objectively honest with yourself, and you're like, man, this was not my fault, but they think it's my fault, and they're really mad at me. How do I deal with that? How do I deal with when I'm trying to get some data from someone, or I'm trying to get some help from someone and they're not getting back to me? Do I email them after 2 days or 3 days or a week, or what do I do, and what's appropriate? There are all those little things that aren't really a big deal, but cumulatively make a big difference between a really successful, effective data scientist and one that's, I'll say, just good technically. Because the technical skills, honestly, most of the people that we hire, they're great technically, but that in the end isn't what sets them apart from the rest of the data scientists.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So whenever you bring these folks in, first of all, like, what I'm a little unclear about, like, what's the process? Like, how does someone get into the model, get into the process?
Yeah, that's good. So here's what we look for. Well, and also, what is the model? What is the process?
Right.
I'll talk about that a little bit. So we look for people coming straight out of undergrad or graduate school, right? PhD, master's, undergrad degree. That's all fine. And we bring them in for this is not a rigid, time frame, but about a 3-year program. And immediately they get a senior data scientist. If they're lucky, they get Brian Behe. If they're unlucky, they get like me. That's good. But so they come in and they immediately get someone assigned to them. And that someone, it's not, you get a lot of these companies will have people come in and they're like, oh, you're a new mentor of so-and-so, and then you have lunch with them once a quarter for 2 times, and then you never hear from them. This is, we hold our senior data scientists accountable for the development of the junior data scientists. So they have a vested interest in making sure that these junior data scientists are, building their skills. And so they come in and they get this kind of senior mentor who's responsible for helping them. And then they spend about 20% of their time doing training and little special projects here and there, but a lot of training, right? And then 80% of the time doing kind of client work, with the supervision of a senior data scientist. And that training there's technical training. For example, if you came up on the math side, maybe you want to take a few programming classes. Probably everybody we hire knows a language, but maybe you want to get a little better at Python or something like that. And if you came up on the CS side, maybe you want to learn a little bit more on the stats side or something like that. So there's all that technical side, but there's all these soft skills and leadership skills that we focus on too. And that, I'll tell you, that is probably the most important thing to me, because what I said it a minute ago, and I'll say it again, what separates the effective data scientist from your run-of-the-mill data scientist isn't the technical expertise. It's defining these problems that's really hard. It's usually not solving them. Now, I don't want to take anything away from the technical side. It's important. But when these kids come out of school, they're usually pretty good technically. And if we hire them, they're very good technically. So, we kind of take that as a given. And we look to develop the other kind of part of our junior data scientists, if that makes sense. So they come in for 3 years, and at the end of 3 years, it's not like we say, see you later, but we do know that as data scientists develop, they get to kind of a certain level, and we think that takes about 3 years. Sometimes they need to go, also, kind of spread their wings and go somewhere else. And some will stay at Red Alpha, and that's great. We love that, but we're also honest with ourselves and the people we hire from the beginning that, you may want to do something else in 3 years, and we're going to help you with a lot of relationships in industry and government, in academia, and, we'll help you find the right role. So I don't want to make it sound like, hey, we're trying to kind of brush you out the door. That's not the case at all. Right. But the way the data science market works, often it makes sense to kind of move on to a different problem set after about 3 years or so. And that may be 5 years for some people. It may be 2.5 years for a few others. But, roughly speaking, after you finish the program, it's kind of like you've got some experience and we prepared you for the next step in your career. That may be at Red Alpha, but it might be somewhere else.